All right, let's get ready to rumble here. Around 2:30, May 5th. Cinco de Mayo today. Cinco de Mayo. Federal judge overturns CDC's eviction memorandum. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki confirms at today's briefing that Biden Justice Department is reviewing the federal judge's decision and should have something to say later today. Housing and Urban Development Secretary Marcia CIA Fudge also reacted to the ruling at a Wednesday press conference, saying the Biden administration is already taking steps to protect renters under the threat of eviction. We know we have put enough money into the system through the rescue plan that people should come out of this June 30th, at least currently, and so that is in itself is going to allow us hopefully to keep people in their homes, as well as those people who actually have homes through FHA or through the federal government. Of course, no one is surprised that the Biden administration would appeal the decision, favoring socialized central control. Additionally, this could be a major roadblock to Biden's efforts to conjoin the expiration of the memorandum with the distribution of $50 billion in rent assistance. A month ago, the Wall Street Journal editorial board stated that yet another true but unpopular fact: continuing government bans on eviction and foreclosure are doing more harm than good. The CDC revoked the 1944 Public Health Service Act, which allows the agency to take measures to prevent the spread of communicable diseases between states. People who get vaccinated might move in with family or friends and spread the disease, the CDC explained. What dictate couldn't the CDC justify under this expansive rationale? In short, the government is bludgeoning private businesses to fix a problem it created. Suspension of rent and mortgage payments was justifiable last spring when states locked down. Some 22 million workers lost jobs, but the job rate has dropped from 6% to the jobless rate has dropped from 6% to 14.8%, and employers are desperate to hire. Landlords say they increasingly can't afford their mortgage payments, utilities, maintenance costs because they can't remove non-paying renters. These crisis programs are distorting the housing market. Home values have soared in the past year amid increased demand. See nearby. So some borrowers currently in forbearance should avoid foreclosure by selling. Government forbearance may be contributing to a housing shortage by keeping people in their homes they can't afford and limiting supply for potential buyers. 2 weeks ago, we highlighted the plight of mom-and-pop landlords. According to Bloomberg, nearly $47 billion in rent relief from the Biden administration has now been slow to materialize, forcing mom-and-pop landlords into financial hardship or forced to sell to wealthy investors. Bloomberg, perhaps to invoke sympathy for the landlord class, focused on the impact felt by minority landlords. Ownership of U.S. rental properties, buildings with 2 to 4 units have the highest share of landlords of color. Urban Institute. Like their tenants, these landlords are more likely to be non-white or to be immigrants using real estate for their economic foothold. Now mortgage, maintenance, and tax bills are piling up, but landlords are in danger of losing their buildings or being forced to sell to wealthy investors hunting for distressed deals. The tens of billions of dollars that Congress allocated for rent relief starting in December and then with a second allotment in March was supposed to help covering back rent and unpaid utility bills. But the rollout has been moving at the speed of bureaucracy, which varies from state to state. And today, a federal judge has vacated a nationwide freeze on evictions that was put in place by federal health officials to keep cash-strapped renters remaining in their homes during the pandemic. The CDC under Biden administration has sought to extend the eviction memorandum through June 30th. D.C. District Judge Dabney Frederick ruled on the side of the plaintiffs, who alleged that the CDC overstepped its authority by extending the eviction memorandum, which was first included in the March CARES Act passed by Congress, to all residential properties nationwide. The pandemic has triggered difficult policy decisions, and have had some enormous real-world consequences. The nationwide eviction memorandum is one such decision. Frederick writes in an opinion piece, "It is the role of political branches and not the courts to assess the merits of policy measures designed to combat the spread of the coronavirus, or the disease, even through a global pandemic. The question for the court is narrow. Does the Public Health Service Act grant the CDC the legal authority to impose a nationwide eviction memorandum? It does not. Coronaviruses? Bless you. Temporary eviction? Fighting the spread of the COVID-19, for God's sakes. The cares, we care about you until we put you in a dirt hole. We really care. We're the CDC, and we really do appreciate everything. Stand by. Stand by. Can we get rid of this? Like, what is all this chickadanza? Dabney Friedrich. Dabney. Thanks, Dabney. Finally, there are obvious consequences both ways on this. As we recently noted, homelessness exploded. Homelessness exploded. Here, let me just turn this the frick off. Finally, there are obvious consequences both ways on this. We recently noted homelessness exploded in the U.S. and other Western countries in 2020. It's still on the rise with no signs of getting better anytime soon. Some argue it's not as bad as it would have been and can become without the aggressive forbearance and memorandum programs implemented by governments. But this has side effects. What will happen when the suspension ends? And if they extend, what will be the unintended consequences? It's hard to predict, but eviction waves could throw millions into the streets in months and years ahead if the crisis worsens. During the 1930s Great Depression, cities everywhere saw the growth of squatter areas and shanty towns. New York City's Park Central became Hooverville, a giant slum right in the middle of America's biggest and wealthiest city at the time. Whole areas in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and many other towns across the United States have already become tent cities. These are ripe for crime, exploitation, drug trafficking, violence, disease, political manipulation, sex trafficking, and much more. Oh, great. Biden is really helping out, guys. He's really helping out with his black masks and his mandates and his BS. He's really helping out.